What's your passion? What is it that drives you in the morning to get up every day to do this? Some people, it's plumbing. Some people, it's lawn care. Right? It's different things that drive different demands because there is a business opportunity in all of them.
Hey, it's Eric Fisher. Welcome back to class. Today we're talking with David Montanez of Authority Brands. He's an expert in the franchising industry, and he's here to dispel some of those common misconceptions about franchises and explore why the systems and the processes that come along with a franchise system, as well as the support, can be critical in helping build your entrepreneurial journey first steps, or something that's an add-on that's going to help you level up your success. And by the end of this class, you're going to understand more about what it takes to buy or sell or grow a franchise and the possibilities there for you as an entrepreneur. So put your hands together for David Montanez. Hello, David. Welcome to Millionaire University.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
A thrill for me. I haven't really thought about this topic much, but I'm sure you have. Otherwise, you wouldn't be the VP of Development at Authority Brands. So
I am indeed. Yeah, we've thought about it a lot, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, including myself, they don't think past the point of what the surface level of the word franchise means. They think they jump in and they think, oh, McDonald's or another fast food restaurant here in my local town we're getting fill in the blank here. Oh, I wonder who's doing that franchise. But there's so much more to it than that. And I'd love for you to maybe explain a little bit what a franchise is for our listeners who may not be familiar with that concept beyond what I just said.
Sure. Well, and what you described is ideal, right? It really is what people believe today a franchise is. It's the golden arches, right? We laugh about it a little bit here because prior to coming to the franchise industry, I had no idea what a franchise was. I really did. I was one of those guys. It's like, so there's a Mr. Sparky in Memphis and another one in Chicago. Like, really? It's a franchise? Who thought of those things? It really does change the concept once you start looking into it. There's lots of things that have been franchised, from cleaning services, home services, all those things. But at a very kind of high level, 30,000 foot, a franchise is a system and processes that people implement to get through services, through opportunities, whether food and services, home building, all those things. And for us, it's really just the beginning of how you start your business career. We focus here at Authority Brands on home, right? It's home services, and there are different models and different things that we have. But at the end of the day, it's a business. It's literally your business. Your shirt may look a lot like the guy, 300 miles away from you. And the commercials are very similar, but it's really just aimed at systems and processes to help you build your business.
So given that, what are some of the misconceptions that people have when it comes to franchising?
Yeah, it's very funny because franchising really got a bad name, if you will, when it was just thought as you're going to be paying fees for everything you do. Every slice of tomato that you put on that burger is going to cost you a penny or something to that effect, right? And really what a franchise system is really aimed at is to provide you the tools and systems, communications and resources to build a business really to meet your needs, to get you to what you want to do. If you want $1 million business, you can get there with a franchise. If you want a $500,000 business, you can get there with, your business. It's really aimed to help you avoid all of those items that are associated with trial and error, right? I'll tell all of your listeners today that you can be successful starting your own home service business that isn't a franchise. Let us be very, very clear. But you're going to go through a lot of learning curves. You're going to go through a lot of dough and resources and time and frustration because while you're trying to figure it out for the first time, we've done it hundreds of times without our different brands and franchisees. So franchising is really a support. I believe it's the gentleman from Boston Market who said franchising is like starting on third base. You just avoid so much of that learning curve and trial and error that it's really meant for you to, if you follow the systems and the processes, to really help you get off to a good start.
That's a great kind of overview for those main benefits of why somebody would be looking to start or join a franchise business, why franchising can typically reduce the risks that are associated with starting a new business. You're adopting, or you're joining a plug and play that already exists in a way, right?
Yeah, I love I believe it's the Allstate or Farmers commercial, which says, been there, done that. We've seen it all. It's really the same for us. We've seen it all, right? We've seen a lot, and we learn every day. I don't want you to think that we're never, ever going to learn. We learn every day something new, but it's the idea that you're able to talk to other franchisees who are going to be like, oh, yeah, let me tell you how I solved that problem, right? Or, yeah, I'm having the same problem too. Let's go call somebody else, right? And figure out how we do it amongst ourselves. And they really do a great job of that communication and that type of camaraderie around everybody wearing the same colored shirt, right? That kind of thing. And so when you deal with the franchising piece, again, once you overlook the fast foods and all those things, it is a network of entrepreneurs looking to build a business, looking to grow and, sustain their families, their children, generating wealth or building wealth for them and their family for generations to come. And it is amazing because it's so much better when there's what I call the teacher's guide, when there's actually an OpEx manual that tells you how to get from point A to point B. It really does help.
So going along that thread a little bit, so how does a franchise provide support and guidance to franchisees?
So specific to what I've seen in the industry is when you come on board, it isn't that you buy the franchise, you're awarded a franchise and they tap you on the back and say, go get them. Our systems are really designed to have people involved, right? At the end of the day, there was a great photo at one of the presentations that was done and it had a stick figure of an individual wearing a cape, and it said, what would you pay for a person who helps you with marketing, who helps you with operations, who helps you with data, sales and closing rates and all these different things. And you sit there and say, well, I pay a lot for all those. That's like 10 different things this person is helping us with. Well, that's what you get in franchising. The idea that you're able to have folks who are subject matter experts in marketing, people who are folks who are subject market experts in closing, selling, training, all of those things are provided to you. We have here within Authority Brands a award-winning training program for our trade programs. Ben Franklin, 1 hour, Mrs. Sparky. We train everybody. That's what we say. From the minute you answer the phone to the time you collect the money and put it in the cash register. I don't know if anybody has cash registers anymore, but you get the idea. It's just those opportunities for learning and training and teaching. And that's what a good franchisor will provide you. They will provide you the opportunity, not only for you, the owner, but for your employees. And also the opportunity, which is, I think most of all, is the ability to take your business, which is scalable and sizable, and compare it to someone else's who's in a similar field in another territory, or same business in another territory, and do these comparisons and sit there and say, David, you're spending way too much money in X. You need to look at this. Your cost structures are out of control. And we're able to support that with boots on the ground. We have what we call business coach, development coach, that are all aimed at helping you identify those opportunities for improvement, for growth, and basically get that bottom line up, because you've got to make money at this. If you don't, why would you?
That's definitely something I had never thought of in terms of a benefit, is that you're not just comparing notes with another business owner in the same niche or the same industry. It's literally the same product. Now, there might be a different clientele or a different environment you're in, but it's literally the same product, which is a great way to get insight and, again, compare notes, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the beauty of the percentages, the ability to sit here and chart the same chart of accounts, right? All of those things that you can point to within our franchise network that can say, you know, hey, David, why are you spending this much money on air conditioning units if you have a 1 hour franchise? When the guy next to you or, 300 miles away from you is spending less and you're buying about the same. Are you using the tools that we gave you? Are you using our buyback services or not? Right. And all those things are small percentage points that add up to get to your bottom line. Right. So those are the things that we do quite a bit of. Every franchise that comes into the system has an opportunity to purchase material through one of our purchasing arms. It's called Buymax. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but like I tell everybody every day, if you know they're going to give you a good price and it's competitive to where you can buy it anybody else, buy it there, right? Go ahead and get it through Buymax. Save that extra 1%, 2%, because that goes to your pocket. And that's really what we want these franchisees to do. We want them to be able to kind of benchmark with one another, to be able to sit there and talk to one another. We just came from our conference in Arlington, Texas, and it is amazing how much, the energy is there. Guys talking to one another. Some of them haven't seen since training, right? Some of them they haven't seen for a while, but also just the concepts of ideas and what's working, what's not working. What are some of the future risks of the business, right? What's coming down with the industry? All of those things you get as being part of a franchisee, right? As part of you're a franchisee within a franchise or a network. That's when you're getting the support you need.
That's great. And I love to hear that.
Yeah.
The support is definitely needed. I know that Authority Brands does a lot with home service type franchisees and franchises. Could you give us a little bit of an overview of not just the different types of franchises available from that you work with, but just in the market in general?
Sure, absolutely. And I think, as I was thinking about this earlier today, Authority Brands wants to own the home from the sidewalk, the curb line to the roof line is the tagline and everything in between. But not making this a commercial. Let's just be realistic. For many of your listeners, their home will be their most important asset, the most valuable one that they have. Or it'll be one filled with memories of childhood, of child raising, of marriages, all those things. And they will invest to keep it up. They will invest to make sure that it's around for the lifetime, if not just theirs or for their children and grandchildren. And that's a wonderful thing to know, right? It's a wonderful thing to know when you sit here and start looking at the industries of whether it's roofing, whether it's flooring, whether it's painting, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, window, whatever it is, lawn care, all of those things add up to a market potential that's just off the rail, right? It's, I was looking at I think it was the electrical market in IBIS, the World Reporting information. So they estimate that it's a $233 billion industry. I don't care who you are. $1 billion of anything is a lot. 1 billion grains of sand is a lot. So you add it to all these things. But where I'm getting to is that the home services industry, everything that we've just talked about and more, give you an opportunity to build your business around servicing the home, which comes with not only the financial advantages of doing that, but also the sentimental values of making sure you're helping someone maintain their home, you're helping someone fix their home. Sometimes there's fires in the home, you need restoration services. All of those things make you feel better in doing your job. Oh, and by the way, that they're going to pay you for it. So not a bad gig if you can get around it, right? It is something that we look at quite a bit, but truly it's all about the home. It's about the millions of homes throughout the United States, but also all the treasures within that just make this such a great industry to be in. And like I said, just $1 billion of anything is a lot, right? So add 230 billion electricity, 100 billion in plumbing, another 60 billion, and it's a great opportunity.
Now, I know some people out there are thinking, okay, but I don't know anything about electricity or plumbing or, insert thing here. How do
Here, yeah,
you coach them, guide them towards the right franchise opportunity for their interests or their skills?
absolutely. And that's the best question because I hear it every day. We hear that question every day for some of our trade brands or some of those where licensing is required. We have franchisees today who, when they started, did not know which end of the screwdriver to hold, right? We tell the running joke. I myself am not a do-it-yourselfer. I told you we worked on this home and plenty of blisters and, broken nails, hammered nails, and I went through this. A couple of things as you go through the businesses where licensing requirements are necessary. We work with third-party vendors who will help you do that. You literally can rent a license to start the business. It's fully contracted. You don't have to worry about that in terms of them saying, well, I want to leave. You'll interview folks so that you get the right compatible person and move on. In the recent year, we've had a race car driver come in to buy a franchise. We've had bankers, real estate agents, folks who are not going to be sitting there at 1:00 in the morning, drying water out of the basement. That's not what they do. They see the business opportunity, and all those services or all of those requirements are hired. They're just hired guns that we help you identify to bring in. And they help you in terms of getting that piece taken care of. Again, we don't hire them for you. We can't, but we make you available to our third-party vendors that will help you do that. And those are the folks that will help you in terms of meeting that licensing requirement. They do vary by state. So when you come on down, we'll work with you to help you identify those things. But many of the folks that we're hiring today are folks that are just saying, I see the business potential, right? Big markets, billions of dollars, many homes, all those things. I myself won't be turning the screwdriver. So how do we identify those folks? You hire the technicians, you hire the licensed folks. My favorite saying is, there are folks who play the piano and there are folks who carry it, and you're going to get both, right? You're going to need both of them in this business. So you'll get those for all of the different trades. You'll get those for, some of the roofing, depending on where you are. Obviously, landscaping doesn't require it, but whatever training is required will help you.
What are some of the key considerations that people should be thinking of when it comes to managing and operating a franchise successfully?
It's funny. So with regards to us, we have 4 components, which is really funny for me because I always tell everybody I have to stop counting at 3. So, but within our organization, there are 4. The first part that you want to make sure that you're dealing with is you want to make sure that when you're following the system, you have the right people in place. So you have to hire correctly. And that's one of those things that we work at. Much of the franchise industry works on recruiting full-time. You're always recruiting. You're always trying to hire folks. You're identifying potential needs for growth because that's how you grow. That's really what you're going to find. And we work internally here at Authority Brands with our retired military. So we work with a program where we bring in military vets to help us. But always hiring, managing people is important. Number 2 is you have to know your finances, right? Know your numbers. We go through, and you will go through extensive search on numbers. What does it cost? How much am I paying? Where's the money going? So you can monitor those. And again, not making this a commercial, but in any business, you have to know what your top line is, what comes out in the middle, and how much is left at the bottom. So you have to know your numbers. And so training is important on that. Number 3, in terms of what we do and making sure that we have it all together, is you got to make sure that you're managing not only the people, but the process. The times have changed. There was a time when if you called because you had a problem with your plumbing and the guy said, I'll be there next week, it was fine. Thank you, Amazon. But if you're not there in 30 minutes, they're calling somebody else, right? Our expectations have changed, and you have to manage that. And so that's how you start working with that. And what we do on our side is just to make sure that when you start going down the process of learning about franchises, what's your passion? What is it that drives you in the morning to get up every day to do this. Some people, it's plumbing. Some people, it's lawn care. Right? It's different things that drive different demands because there is a business opportunity in all of them. Right. But there's got to be something that you really want to do. I'm not saying people wake up today and say, I want to be a janitor. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they can see the financial benefits of the business and see themselves working their magic and saying, I have these resources. I know people. I have this opportunity. I can do those things. That's what drives them to it. So from a franchise perspective, we go through quite a bit of kind of soul searching, right? Tell us a little bit about who you are. Tell us what drives you. Tell us how you get there. And then can you see the vision? Because if you can do all those things, you can run any business. It doesn't matter what it is, but the one that drives you, the one that gives you the most passion, that's the one you want to be in. And we try to help you get there.
So I'm curious, what are the trends that you're seeing in franchising currently, and how has it changed? The landscape of franchising changed or evolved over the time that you've been involved with it?
So what we're finding today is the movement from owner operator to semi-absentee, if not fully absentee. And I'll tell all of your listeners on the front end, any business that you're going to invest your hard-earned dollars in, you need to be mindful of and pay attention to. Doesn't mean it isn't semi-absentee or fully absentee, but I'm a little gray, as you can see. My background is always, if I'm going to invest the money, I want to know where it is. Every day, I want to know where the money is. Today's environment, you have more folk looking at it as a true investment. They're looking at it and saying, I'll hire a general manager. I'll hire someone to do that because I'm going to maintain my current role, my current position outside of that business. Whereas, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they bought it because they were going to build it themselves. So what you're finding today is the opportunity for semi-absentee and absentee to grow some of those businesses. And if you go down that path, you want to make sure that you follow the proper process procedures to do that. Because while you're doing another job, you don't want to lose sight of where the money is for today's register, right? And they keep going back to cash register. I know I'm old, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the money being collected is being taken to the bank. You want to make sure that the processes and procedures in place to do that are there. The good news is that they are. Technology today has allowed us to do that. Technology today does a myriad of things. The only constant is change. And I tell the story that when my father's remote control to turn on and turn off the light, it went something like this. Hey, David, get up and turn off the light. I had to get up and turn off the lights, right? And today, you walk into a room, the lights come on, off your phone, you can app it and turn them blue without having to change light bulbs. I mean, it's come a long way, right? But all of the changes that are coming in are technology driven. They're helping us industry-wise. They move from owner-operator to semi-absentee and or fully absentee. And those are big changes in the industry because you want to make sure, again, that if you're going to grow this business and grow it to where it starts helping you generate wealth and helping you do that, you want it to be done in such a way that you're not putting your initial investment at risk. So you want to make sure that you're working closely with your franchisor with the process and clearly tell them up front, my goal is to be a semi-absentee owner. My goal is to start hard and become an absentee owner. Anything in between is fine. Just let your franchisor know.
Well, speaking of finances, let's talk a little bit here about what are some of the important financial or legal considerations that a potential franchisee should be aware of?
So I'm going to go on record to tell you should always listen to your attorney. There's an old song, My Attorney Bernie, go listen to it. When he says sign, we sign. You definitely want to have your attorney in there up front. You want to make sure that they're reading the franchise agreement. Get yourself a good franchise attorney to go through it. A little different than just a general attorney, but from a legal perspective and running the business, you want to make sure that you're carrying the proper insurance. You want to make sure that you're carrying the liabilities and all those things. You want to make sure that you set up your business correctly. I don't profess to be an accounting expert or anything like that, but you got to get yourself a good accountant, right? You want to make sure that your business is set up In some cases, an S Corp for you may be better than an LLC. In some cases, the LLC may be better than the S Corp. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with your accountant and your attorneys to get through. The beauty of it, though, is those pieces aside, the rest of the process is tied into a good franchisor's story. When you come in to one of our franchises, we have for you what the insurance requirements are. We'll tell you what they need to be from a dollar perspective, what coverage you should have. We'll help you get that in terms of saying you can get offers from these folks within our system. You could always get it from your brother-in-law, who's also an insurance agent, if that makes you feel better. But the idea right now is that we want to make sure that you're properly covered, because some of your, you have vehicles, if they get into accidents, what does that look like? How do you make sure that those are covered? If you have employees that get hurt on the job, what does that look like? How do you get those covered? All of those are laid out in each individual brand. And a good franchisor, I'm not just talking about AB, but just a good franchisor will have those for you to lay you out and say, this is the coverage you need. Now, where you get that from, the better franchisors will help you get lower cost items, and those are the things you want to do. But you still want to make sure you have the right coverage. But outside of setting up the entity that's best for you, once that's done, you're able to work with the franchisor to get the right coverage, to make sure that it's covering you and your people correctly.
Excellent. Since we're still talking about that topic of money and finances, et cetera. So what,
Sure.
I know potential entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs that want to be potential franchisees, I should say.
Sure.
They're trying to figure out, well, what's that initial investment required to start a franchise look like?
Yep. Well, it's funny. So one of the things that I want to make sure that all of your listeners hear is, there is a franchise disclosure document, the infamous FDD. We are required, if you have so many units, and I think the number is 20, but don't hold me to that. But if you have 20 franchise units anywhere in the United States, you are required by law to publish a franchise disclosure document. It is, people call it the Bible of the brand, the Bible of the business. But at the end of the day, all the information relative to cost in terms of initial investment is called item 5 in the FDD. It'll lay out for you what the cost structure is. In items 6 and 7 of the FDD, it will tell you, hey, these are the expenses for you from startup to conversions, if they offer those. And I also tell everybody that you really want to look at item 19, which is the financial representation of the business. So when you get through those 4 items, you'll have a good idea of if this is the investment and this is the return potential, right? Because those are always potential. You sit there and go, that makes sense. I want to do this. Or, well, I don't think so. I don't think these numbers add up, right? And the truth is sometimes they don't. Sometimes when you go to some of these franchise disclosure documents, you kind of sit there and go, I don't see this. So those are the ones you want to stay away from. But please get the franchise disclosure document. It is a publicly available document. You can get them online from various states. It is great information. All of the information items, that they're not called chapters or items, are listed the same. So the item 5 is the initial investment. Whether you're buying a Burger King or whether you're buying a 1 Hour or Mr. Sparky, but item 5 is the initial investment. Go to that item. Go to item 6 to talk about the cost. It's the same for all of them. And once you do 5, 6, 7, and then number 19, you'll be in a good position to say, I can see the viability of the finances. Let's find out more. Maybe these aren't the right numbers. I have to go somewhere else. But please look at those items specifically.
Okay. So it makes sense then that somebody, thinking about what they'd want to be involved with or what, I could potentially look that up if I find out, and find this document and that's where you do your digging, because it's going to vary.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Sure. And as is the investment, right? So one of our franchises is called the Monster Tree Services. You're buying equipment to bring down trees. So you're going to have assets and it'll be asset heavy. You'll have more assets. So it'll cost you more money on the front end to get it started. We have others that clean pools. They'll have less assets than the Monster Tree, right? Those kind of things. And all of that is reflected in your investment. But please make sure it's the franchise disclosure document, FDD. It's the industry lingo. Everyone that you talk to about a franchise, in some states you're required by law to give it to them on the very first phone call. What I tell everyone who's interested in looking at a franchise is whomever you speak with on the very first call, ask for the FDD. It is public information. And like I said, if you're in the state of New York, you're required to do that on the very first call.
Very interesting. I'm originally from New York State, so it's good to know they're
from
doing
Brooklyn.
it. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking here, there's something else that is going to be important for people to know, and that is what sets apart successful franchisees apart from those that aren't.
Sure, absolutely. And I will, again, remember one of the things I said earlier, right? You can be successful without a franchise. I don't want anybody to sit here and say, this isn't an ad. It's not an ad. It's just being honest. But here are the three things that I find that really separate those franchisees who are growing a steady business and those that struggle. The first part, I'll say it over and over and over again. Please follow the system. There has, some of these brands have been around for decades. And you always get that one individual who says, oh, I know better. I'm going to do it this way. And what you find is that those who say, I know it better, typically struggle. Eventually, it all comes home to roost and they realize that, no, we got to follow the system. But the first thing you want to do is you want to follow the system. Once you come into and you've done your homework, you've read your FDDs, you've gone through the process, and you come on board, you really want to follow the system. At least for the first 2 years, just follow the system. There are nuances, right? The season may be a little longer in Florida than it is in, Chicago, whatever. But at the end of the day, you follow that system and you tweak it, not come in making changes. The first one is that. The second one that you run into that I think is you can't lose your passion for this business. When you invest your hard-earned money, when you are sitting there training, for a lot of folks, this is a big investment for them. They think that it takes off, it gets off to a good place, and then they just glide. There's no gliding. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards, right? So you want to make sure that you maintain that passion, that drive to move forward. One of my favorite lines is the Lewis Carroll Alice in Wonderland, where, if you don't know where you're going, any map will get you there. You've got to come up with a plan. One of the things that we do here at Authority Brands with our franchisees is every year you're going to have a budget. Every year you're going to have a goal. And not everybody hits it. That we understand that. But it's the idea that you have to know where you're going. And sometimes what happens to franchisees are, oh, I'm comfortable. I like where I'm at. And they get a little complacent. And then things happen. A couple of years ago, it was a thing called COVID, right? You have to prepare. You have to sit here and try and adjust and adapt. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're not moving forward or growing, take a deep breath, go talk to your business coach, right? The ones that come in and figure that out. Because if you don't, you're going to glide, it'll pass you by. And then the third part is there comes a point in time in every franchise in existence where you're going to want to leave. And I mean that in a good way. The ending of a franchise is one of three things. You sell it, you transfer it to your family, your children, or kids. And you never want to be the one who closes. So what happens with these franchisees sometimes is that they've run their life, their business life cycle. They're ready to sell it or ready to transfer it. And they just don't do what they need to do to get that done. So follow the system. That'll help you. Stay passionate. Continue with goals and objective. And at the end, identify what you want to do. Transfer it to your family or children or sell it. Please don't close it. You've worked too hard for that to happen.
In closing, I'd speak to what Authority Brands does specifically and where people can find out more about you and Authority Brands.
Well, thank you for that. I will tell you that I was new to Authority Brands. I started with another company and came into Authority Brands. It'll be 3 years next week. So I'll be here 3 years with Authority Brands. And along that way, we've added different brands all focused on home services. And really what Authority Brand does today is it puts together services for the home where you can leverage the contact, the customer list, the ability to communicate with other franchisees in a certain area to service and own the home. That's really what we want to do. When you start, and remember, we talked about the home and the importance of it. When they trust you enough to come to your home and say, I had a problem with my plumbing and the Benjamin Franklin guy fixed it, and all of a sudden there's another issue because of a fire and the Benjamin Franklin guy makes a recommendation, they take that recommendation. They'll call that person who was recommended. So what we always try to do from Authority Brands perspective is how do we leverage the relationship of all of our 16 different brands to basically become a trusted and valued provider to the homeowner. And that's what they do. They sit here and identify good businesses. To do that, they put in the personnel to help it grow by helping it with marketing, helping it with training, helping it with all of those resources, purchasing correctly to help the business grow. That's what AB does. It allows that opportunity.
David, thank you so much for giving us this crash course in franchising. And I think a lot of people are going to be soaking this up really deeply and contacting you. So thank you so much for sharing your experience.
I appreciate the time. Thank you for this. And again, we really look forward to working with any one of your listeners in the very, very near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See, I told you David was awesome. He's so smooth sounding and calm and peaceful. I think he sounds a little like James Earl Jones at times, but his wisdom, his experience that he's sharing there about this possible step for you as an entrepreneur, I thought was very helpful. It's beneficial for you to know this as an option, that the systems and the available resources that can come along with a franchise, and that it's not just fast food like we kind of get in our head as a misconception, that it's an option, it's a possibility even. So make sure to check out Authority Brands. Make sure to consider this as an option, a franchise, but stay curious. And until next time, class dismissed.